This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
جدد الطيران الحربي الإسرائيلي غاراته على الجنوب اللبناني واستهدف بلدة الغازي جنوب.
The Israeli Air Force renewed its raids on southern Lebanon. It targeted the town of Al-Ghazi south of Sidon, killing 3 people and wounding 9 others. The raids also targeted the town of Ansar, while 3 people were wounded in the town of Yochmor in the south. Meanwhile, 2 Israeli soldiers were killed and 11 others sustained injuries in clashes in southern Lebanon. The Israeli army announced that it arrested 5 Hezbollah fighters in Ben Jubail.
إنه شكل الأزقة غداة وقوع مجزرة. هذا ما يفترض أنه شارع الحج.
This is what these alleys look like one day after a massacre has taken place. This is what used to be Al-Hajjaj Street and Mahalat al-Shaya in Beirut's southern suburbs.
ومعهم وافدون من مناطق أخرى في الضاحية. جلهم هاربون من جحيم القصف على ما يعرف.
The area, which was targeted for the first time last night, was full of inhabitants, including people who fled from other areas. Most of them had fled from the wrath of the raids, known here as the security zone, which has been nearly turned into total rubble. Israeli aircrafts flew over and beyond these security zones and began firing in every direction. This is why the number of victims was so high. More than 20 were killed and more than 50 were wounded. Bulldozers are still searching for the victims underneath the rubble. Al-Shaya was one of the massacres that took place throughout Lebanon on Monday, including villages in the south, Al-Baka and especially Butal. The number of victims reached 50. The scene in the southernmost part of Lebanon is different. The Israeli army, which is preparing to carry out a large-scale ground operation, is experiencing difficulties in controlling some southern villages along the border. The fiercest battles have been taking place since this morning in the mid-region within the Ben Jubai area. In the villages of Dibble, Aitarun and Labuna, Hezbollah fighters are putting up fierce resistance against Israeli attempts to advance. The Israelis announced that 2 of their soldiers died and others were wounded near Ben Jubai. They also said that they arrested 5 Hezbollah fighters. South of the Litani, the town of Tyre, which is the second largest coastal town in southern Lebanon, became completely paralyzed after Israeli fighters warned people not to move about the city under any circumstances during air raids. The town and its environs are in complete isolation after the last road on the Litani, which connects the towns with Sidon and other Lebanese cities, was cut off by an Israeli air raid. Blockades and curfews are being enforced on an area that has been living under dire conditions since the beginning of the aggression. Today there is no way to send any help or to transfer aid from one house to another.
وحتى نقلها من منزل إلى آخر.
Israeli senior security officials will hold a cabinet session on Wednesday to discuss the possibility of expanding Israeli military operations in Lebanon. According to Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert, Israel will not pull out of Lebanon until its mission is completed. Lebanon offered to deploy Lebanese troops in southern Lebanon.
Israeli officials expressed concern over a Lebanese proposal that suggests the deployment of Lebanese troops in southern Lebanon, which will take effect after the withdrawal of Israeli
Israeli occupation forces. The Israeli occupation Prime Minister Ehud Olmert described the Lebanese proposal as interesting and worthy of further considerations. He stated that his government will examine all aspects of the Lebanese offer.
I have not yet examined details of the Lebanese government proposal. I do not know the makeup and capability of this combat-ready force that will be deployed in southern Lebanon. Moreover, I do not know whether the Lebanese government will have conditions prior to the formation of this force. Therefore, I think it would be fair to say that we will study the Lebanese proposal and examine all of its aspects to see if it's feasible and practical. However, we should proceed with caution before making a decision, considering the fact that Hezbollah approved and supported this proposal, which may indicate that some changes have taken place on the ground. This is what transpired.
In a joint press conference with the Israeli President Moshe Katsav, Ehud Olmert called for the implementation of UN Resolution 1559. He confirmed that any deployment of Lebanese troops in southern Lebanon must be backed by a combatant-ready force of international peacekeepers, and said that Hezbollah must be disarmed.
مؤكدا أن الهدف الرئيسي سيكون وقف الهجمات الصاروخية من جانب حزب الله. وبانتظار ما سيصدر عن الاجتماع الأمني حاول أولمرت.
He also announced that the Israeli cabinet will meet on Wednesday to discuss the possibility of widening Israeli military operations in southern Lebanon in order to stop cross-border missile attacks by Hezbollah. Mr. Olmert tried to downplay his government's decision of expanding military operations in Lebanon, saying Israel does not intend to occupy or remain in Lebanon. He added that Israel intends to accomplish its mission in Lebanon, which is to stop Hezbollah from launching cross-border missiles and drive its fighters out of southern Lebanon. Mr. Olmert confirmed that Israel will complete its mission in Lebanon and pull out as fast as possible. The Israeli government spokesman Avi Baznar raised doubt about the Lebanese government offer of deploying forces in southern Lebanon, saying it may be an attempt by Hezbollah to buy time in order to continue its armed operations. He added that his government does not know how serious the Lebanese offer is, saying that it may be a tactical maneuver by Hezbollah ahead of the UN Security Council meeting. Speaking on condition of anonymity, a senior Israeli official confirmed that his government approves the deployment of UN combatant-ready force that will back the Lebanese army in southern Lebanon. This special force must have the authority and military capability to enforce a ceasefire and provide stability in the region. Also, it must be able to stop Hezbollah fighters from returning to southern Lebanon. In a special cabinet meeting to discuss the war on Lebanon, the Israeli Foreign Minister, Tzipi Livni, asked the Lebanese Prime Minister Fouad Siniora to wipe his tears. She added, "I also saw Siniora sobbing, and we are also sobbing for Israeli victims." She asked Siniora to wipe his tears and start looking for a better future and a more normal life for his people, especially for those civilians he is crying for. On the ground, Israeli sirens went off in northern Israel after a new round of Hezbollah cross-border missile attacks began. 13 settlements and cities, including the city of Acor and the settlement of Kiryat Shimuna, were hit by Hezbollah missiles.
الإنذار في مستوطنات الشمال على وقع إطلاق حزب الله دفعات جديدة من الصواريخ طالت 13 مستوطنة ومدينة أبرزها عكا وكريات شمونة.
Three IDF soldiers, reserve soldiers, were killed overnight in fighting with Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. Two of the fallen soldiers have been identified as Captain Gilad Balakhsan, age 28 of Carmiel, and 21-year-old Staff Sergeant Philip Musko of Male Adumim. Heavy exchanges of fire across southern Lebanon continue at this hour. IBA's Eli Wagalerter has more details.
One soldier, 21-year-old Staff Sergeant Philip Musko, was killed when Hezbollah fighters fired an anti-tank missile at an IDF Puma armored personnel carrier in the village of Dibble. Two reserve soldiers, one named as 28-year-old Captain Gilad Balakhsan, were killed overnight in fighting in the southern Lebanese village of Labuna. IDF paratroopers have been fighting in Dibble and Labuna since last night. Several soldiers were wounded in clashes last night and today, including a member of the Armored Corps who was seriously wounded in the intense fighting before dawn. The wounded soldiers, including troops from the Paratroopers Brigade and Engineering Corps, were evacuated for medical treatment. IDF troops killed 25 Hezbollah terrorists in the last 24 hours across southern Lebanon and also apprehended 5 Hezbollah fighters, including 2 who were setting up anti-aircraft missiles. In a separate operation, the IDF destroyed 7 rocket launchers installed on a truck, which was also carrying weapons. The IDF, meanwhile, has decided to deploy the Givati Brigade, which is now operating in the Gaza Strip in southern Lebanon, to back up 3 other infantries deployed there. It has not been decided whether to call up reserve troops to replace the Givati soldiers in Gaza. Meanwhile, late yesterday, the IDF intercepted and shot down a Hezbollah drone 10 kilometers off the coast of Akko. Unconfirmed reports say the Iranian-made unmanned spy plane contained explosive materials. And last night, the IDF warned residents south of the Litani River that a curfew was going to be imposed, saying anyone moving around outside after 10 p.m. would be at risk. Eli Waldelander, IBA News.
Meanwhile, Hezbollah continues to fire dozens of Katyusha rockets at towns and villages in the north. Rockets struck Kiryat Shmona, Tzfat, Tiberias, Carmiel, and Nahariya. One person was lightly wounded in Kiryat Shmona after a missile scored a direct hit on a house. We're joined live now by IBA's Steve Leibowitz, who is standing by in Kiryat Shmona. Steve, another day of bombardment in the beleaguered town. What's the latest?
Yes, Yochanan. Up until this hour, 115 rockets have landed in the north. Hits in Malay Yosef, in Tzfat, Tiberias, Nahariya, and Malot, where someone was moderately injured just a short time ago. And of course, here in Kiryat Shmona, where over 30 rockets fell, with one person injured. There will be relief for some of the residents of Kiryat Shmona, in that, for a temporary relief, let's say. For those that have been 28 days in shelters, the municipality is organizing the first 500 who are going to leave tonight on buses for 2 to 4 days of rest and relaxation, or as they're calling it by the government, refreshment, not calling it evacuation, where they're going to be spending some time at the Sea of Galilee, hopefully being able to get their spirits back before returning home. Part of the plan of the Home Front Command, where some 24 million shekels has been budgeted, and some of the 17,000 Northerners they hope to be able to send on these kind of vacations in the coming days. Back to you, Yochanan.
All right, Steve Leibowitz reporting live from Kiryat Shmona. Prime Minister Ehud Olmert met today with President Moshe Katsav at the president's Jerusalem residence. Olmert told reporters that the Lebanese government's proposal to deploy troops in southern Lebanon is an interesting one, but it remains to be seen whether the proposal is practical and if it can be implemented within a reasonable amount of time. Olmert said that Hezbollah's acceptance of the proposal may suggest that the terrorist organization is weakening and that it understands that it cannot continue to operate as it has until now. The Prime Minister added that Israel will study the Lebanese proposal, but in the meantime will continue to take out Hezbollah rocket launchers. Olmert said that the Security Cabinet will discuss the possibility of expanding military operations in Lebanon, but Olmert reiterated that Israel has no interest in conquering Lebanon and that the faster forces can be withdrawn, the better. Regarding beleaguered residents of the north, Ehud Olmert said that the government is working to ease conditions for citizens in northern communities and that many must be allowed to evacuate to rejuvenate themselves.
I'm not familiar yet with all the details and what is the assistance needed for the Lebanese army and what will be the structure of the forces that will join the Lebanese army and what will be the strengths of these forces and the makeup of these forces and what are the other conditions, if there are any conditions, that were presented by the Lebanese government. So I think that it will be fair to say that we studied this. It looks interesting, and we will examine it closely. We will take counsel with other parties that are interested in the situation and that are working towards the resolution of the United Nations, and we'll make up our mind about it.
Many of the country's top-performing artists have made it a priority to help raise the spirits of residents in the north, but instead of performing in concert halls, they are now making their music in bomb shelters and at army bases. IBA's Viva Press has that story.
More than a month underground in bomb shelters was not how residents of the north expected to spend their summer vacation. Summer festivals and concerts scheduled for the green parks of the north were all canceled in the face of war. Nevertheless, local musicians and actors decided to pack their guitars, keyboards, and drums and head north anyway to bring a smile to those on the front line and in border communities. Children were very excited to see contestants from the A Star Is Born television competition. The up-and-coming stars led sing-alongs with traditional songs about Israel for the inhabitants of the bomb shelters. People clapped and danced to the tunes of rock artist Chemi Rudner and friends as they jived things up underground. Clowns and visual artists also helped put a smile on the children's faces. A little light in the darkness to help brighten the dark days in the artificial light of the bomb shelters.
رئيس الوزراء الإسرائيلي إيهود أولمرت وبأحد خطبه قال إنه إسرائيل
Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert said when Israel hits civilians in Lebanon, it does so accidentally. But the Lebanese resistance considers the targeting of Israeli civilians a success. What are your comments on this statement?
بالنسبة إليها كيف تعلق على هذا الكلام؟
أولا هذه المجازر مقصودة 100%. لم يضربوا أطراف القرى.
First of all, the Israeli massacres are 100% deliberate. They did not target the outskirts of the villages, fields, or areas where missiles were being launched. Rather, they hit deep inside the residential areas. For example, a horrific massacre was caused by an Israeli air raid on Shiyah, and a number of citizens are still under the rubble until this second.
فيها من الأطفال وفيها من الشيوخ ومن المسنين ومن المهجرين ولم نجد مرة واحدة أن مسلحا كان في مبنى. ماذا يفعل هذا الذي يقتل في
The victims included children, elderly, and displaced citizens. Not once did we ever find an armed man in a targeted building. What did these people who live in Shiyah and the hearts of Al-Ghaziyah do? Do these people have missiles or rifles? The Israelis are only doing this to break the will of the Lebanese people who are standing by the resistance. In any case, several civilians in Salah, Britel, Baalbek, Shimstar have challenged the Israelis to find one rifle or a single bullet underneath the rubble. I do not need to say more about this matter. But as I have said before, Israel is carrying out systematic killing of the Lebanese people, and it plans to do this on all Lebanese land.
حفلات إعدام منظمة للشعب اللبناني وهذا ما تخطط له على كامل الأراضي اللبنانية.
نعم، يعني حج خليل مجلس الوزراء وباجتماعه بالأمس يعني أقر استعداده لإرسال قوة.
Haj Khalil, during the Lebanese ministerial meeting yesterday, an announcement was made about the possibility of deploying 15,000 Lebanese soldiers, in addition to the UNIFA forces, if Israeli forces are withdrawn from southern Lebanon. In your opinion, can the agreement to this between the Amal movement and Hezbollah be considered a reversal to their previous position?
يعني هل تمثل هذه الموافقة ربما تراجع في المواقف السابقة؟
أولا حركة أمل وحزب الله وافقوا على
First of all, the Amal movement and Hezbollah have agreed on the 7 articles that were approved by the Lebanese government. This cannot be considered a reversal in their position.
حزب الله كانوا يقفون سدا منيعا في وجه دخول الجيش اللبناني إلى الجنوب. لدى حركة أمل وحزب الله.
Second, there is confusion. The Amal movement and Hezbollah were never opposed to the deployment of the Lebanese army in southern Lebanon. The Amal movement and Hezbollah believe that the deployment of the Lebanese army in the south at this particular time is in effect an attempt to expose the army and create divisions between it and the resistance. Israel has tried on several occasions to prevent the Lebanese army from being deployed in the south. During the Israeli invasion in 1987, it attacked the Lebanese army and killed army officers. It bombed Fitnat Sur and the officers' club, and it shelled the Lebanese army without any provocation. In 1977, Israel bombarded the Lebanese army in Kaukab. The international community has succumbed to the will of the Zionist enemy and prevented the Lebanese army from arming itself so it can confront this enemy.
من تسليح نفسه ومن إعداد نفسه بطريقة يستطيع فيها أن يواجه العدو.
أستاذ عبد الباري، أود أن أعلم منك Mr. Abdel Atwan, I would like to know what you think of what is happening in Lebanon, especially considering the comments that were made by U.S. Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice about the new Middle East project. In your own opinion, where is the new Middle East project today?
يعني أولا أنا ما عندي مانع أنه الأستاذ سجعان يكون هو يختم البرنامج، فهو رجل طيب وصديق وإن شاء الله يعني وأنا بتنازل عن دوري فيه. فهذه نقطة.
Concerning the new Middle East project, I believe that there will be a new Middle East, but it will be different from the one that the U.S. has in mind. The U.S. wants to build a new Middle East according to Israeli conditions. But I believe that Lebanon, this great country, has laid the first building block of a new Middle East that we aspire for as Arabs and citizens in this region. We want a new Middle East that is based on justice, stability, and a fair distribution of wealth. A new Middle East where wealth is spent in proper investments, fighting illiteracy, and where true coexistence exists away from sectarianism and division. This new Middle East is being launched out of Lebanon. Lebanon has always been the source of enlightenment in the region. Now it will be the launching pad for reforming the region. Israel has always managed to impose its own conditions. Now it is in an unprecedented state of defeat. It can no longer control the region by its reckless use of power. In addition, the Arab regimes that have been co-opting Israel will now be punished by their populace. These Arab regimes have sold out the resistance movements and conspired against them. They have conspired against Iraq and caused it to be in the state we see it today. They have also conspired against Afghanistan and transformed it into a failed state. These Arab regimes will face unprecedented pressure from their own population. True democracy will come. It will be based on national basis, not on the basis of succumbing to American hegemony in the region. The U.S. used to talk about a greater Middle East. Now it is talking about the new Middle East. I do not know what kind of Middle East it will talk about in the future. Maybe it will say that it wants a small, brown, or even red Middle East. The problem is that America has lost its sense of direction. Its foreign policy has completely collapsed. It failed in Afghanistan and in Iraq. Today, the U.S. policy towards Israel and Lebanon is also collapsing. Now the entire region is being rebuilt. Personally, I'm very optimistic. I would like to say I truly hope that other fronts will be opened against Israel in the Golan Heights, Jordan, and Egypt. It is not fair to put all this burden on Lebanon. It's honorable and should be a national burden. Truly, the entire nation is indebted to the Lebanese people. God willing, a new Middle East will be launched through the Lebanese, Iraqi, and Palestinian resistance movements. The region will be rebuilt, but not according to the American and Israeli ideas. We say that victory sometimes comes from persistence. We are in a war of attrition. The Lebanese are paying the price of this war, but those who laugh at the end will laugh a lot longer. I am confident that Lebanon will be rebuilt and prosper again, and it will be stable for decades to come. The entire nation will be indebted to this great country, to its resistance, steadfastness, and sacrifices.
وستكون كل الأمة، والله كل الأمة ستكون مدينة لهذا الشعب، مدينة لمقاومته، مدينة لصموده، مدينة لتضحياته.
الحرب على لبنان فتحت نقاشا داخل إسرائيل.
The war in Lebanon has triggered a debate in Israel about the Israeli media's coverage of the war. Some say that television channels and newspapers relay the news in an objective manner without nationalist emotions. Others say that the fourth authority is there to serve the Israeli government and the military's interests.
The events of the war on Lebanon are forcing Israelis, like other people in the region, to follow different media outlets. The details of the war have entered every home and influenced every person. As usual, the media in their attempt to relay the information have sparked controversy. Some here say that Israeli media succeeded in painting an accurate picture of what's happening on the northern border and inside Lebanon. Others, however, believe that the coverage is exaggerated.
في فيه.
I think Israeli TV coverage has done a good service to its audience. We are keen followers of what's happening in the north.
The amount of coverage is more than needed. I also think that the Prime Minister is talking about taking more steps than are actually needed. People should get straightforward information about what's happening.
The amount of coverage on the events of the war is not the only issue that has sparked a debate inside Israel. The circle has widened to include the details, the methods, and the language used, so much so that one segment of Israeli society is saying that media outlets are relaying the information with an objectivity that lacks a full understanding of the situation. The situation, according to this view, demands more support for the army and the government. Among Israeli media personalities, we found some who stressed that they are affected by what's happening in their country.
I'm an Israeli journalist. Of course, I have to do my job and perform my duties, but I am also an Israeli citizen and I live in the city of Haifa. The rockets hit my town, so it's difficult to remain totally objective in all of our coverage.
In response, some people following the news say that not only have Israeli media gone beyond the normal reaction to war, they have turned it into instruments that legitimize the government's policies and the Israeli military apparatus. Some, however, deny this claim.
In all media outlets, whether television or in newspapers, no one asks you, what are you broadcasting? Nor do they keep an eye on you. Obviously, we are Israeli journalists. We cover the events from the Israeli angle and point of view. We are not from Sweden or Norway.
This Israeli point of view may be the reason behind the absence of information on the events happening inside Lebanon. This suggests that part of the war is a media battle to push a certain view. The readers and the viewers here may differ in their estimation of the coverage of the war on Lebanon, but what is certain is that the profession itself should never be about public consensus.
The Israeli army no longer hides its casualties. Do you think Arabic media really played a role in forcing the Israeli media instrument to be truthful and objective, whether they liked it or not?
نعم بالتأكيد كان بداية أنوه بعد سماحك إلى أن الإعلام الإسرائيلي ضمن سياق.
Yes, definitely. The Israeli media works to strengthen Israel's image and the legend of the invincible Israeli army. Therefore, it has worked to obfuscate some facts. But of course, there are some exceptions. The Arts newspaper is an exception, for example. But generally, Israeli media outlets played a role in obfuscating facts regarding losses on the Israeli side. They also attempted to exaggerate Israel's accomplishments on the ground, and at the same time downplayed the extent of the destruction and death on the Lebanese side. It also continued to repeat its victim speech. That's why Arabic media certainly played a role in uncovering Israeli losses.
الإعلام العربي لعب دورا في كشف الخسائر الإسرائيلية بالتأكيد.
Hundreds of people in Kuwait took to the streets in support of Lebanese resistance movement against the Zionist regime. The ralliers condemned Israeli brutalities and criticized the Arab countries for their inaction against the Zionist offensive. Demonstrators carried pictures of Lebanese Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah and anti-Israeli, anti-US banners voicing readiness to participate in frontline war against the Zionist regime of Israel. And in Paris, the ralliers denounced London and Washington for their support of Israel and called for swift action to be taken by the international community to halt the massacre of innocent Lebanese civilians.
The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. Please visit linktv.org/mosaic. For more information about these broadcasters, or to view previous Mosaic programs, obtain program transcripts, or receive the weekly Mosaic Intelligence Report, Mosaic is made possible by a grant from the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation. Additional support is provided by the Firedoll Foundation, the Otto Haas Charitable Trust, and by committed Link TV viewers like you. If you value this program, please send your tax-deductible contribution to Link TV, either through the website or the mailing address listed on your screen. This program was brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. television network devoted to global and national news, with uncompromising documentaries and diverse cultural programs which connect you to the world.